Yes, another WAEC question, another international exam question, but very simple. If you understand what to do here, is very simple. The angle of incidence of a ray of light on a plane mirror is 55. Look at our concentration here. Is 55. The angle of incidence of a ray of light on a plane mirror is 55. Full stop. Determine between, okay? Determine between the reflected ray and the mirror the angle of reflection, something like that. Determine the angle of reflection between the reflected ray and the mirror. Okay? Or rather, determine the angle between, should be, determine the angle here. Something is missing here. Between, determine the angle, right? Determine the angle. Let's take it again. The angle of incidence of a ray of light on a plane mirror is 55 degrees, right? Determine the angle between the reflected ray and the mirror. And options are given. That means this kind of question can be found among the objective questions. A, 35 degrees, right? B, 45 degrees, C, 55 degrees, and D, 110 degrees. Which of these options is the most suitable answer to this question? That is what the question is all about. So what do? Very simple. Let's just do a simple illustration of what the question looks like. Okay? Let's see. This is a plane mirror. Let's use this to represent a plane mirror, right? Understand it? This is a plane mirror. A plane mirror. Let's use this to represent a plane mirror, right? Of course, you know we have a number, right? N. This is N, right? And then this is O. Good. But let's remove this. This is O here. That is normal. This line is called normal, right? And normal is always perpendicular, meaning making angle 90 degrees to the surface of contact, right? Now, there comes a ray of light. There comes a ray of light incident at angle 55 degrees on the plane mirror, right? So the incident angle should come from here. Good. We illustrate it this way. Incident angle I is equal to 55 degrees. All right? In other words, if this is the incident angle I, we can also have reflected angle R. Good. We can still have reflected angle R at this point. So watch out. Watch out. They say determine the angle between the reflected, look at the reflected, okay? Between the reflected ray and the mirror. This is the reflected ray, okay? And this is the mirror. So we need to determine this angle. That is where we have question mark. Very simple. Of course, if you know law of this law of Snell's law, right, that says the angle, incident angle is equal to what? Reflected angle. So if you know that, it means that whatever we have here is equivalent to whatever we have here, 55 degrees. But the normal is perpendicular, is at angle 90 degrees to the mirror, to the plane mirror. So this normal is angle 90 degrees. Look at it. So the total angle here is 90 degrees. So we already have 55 degrees here as the angle of the reflected ray, but not the angle between the reflected ray and the plane mirror. That's what we are asked to find. That is it. So what do? Because this is 90 degrees, you must say, to find this, we can represent this with just a letter alpha. To find this, we say alpha represents the angle between the reflected ray and the plane mirror as this 90 degrees minus, because this is minus what? The reflected angle R. And then when I say 90 degrees minus 55, 55 is the reflected ray. Because angle of incidence is automatically equal to what? Angle of reflection or reflected angle. That's it. And if we have this, 90 minus 55 is definitely going to be 35, excuse me. 35. Of course, 90 degrees minus 55 degrees, what will remain is 35 degrees. 35 degrees. That's what this is, okay? So it means, now we have found this. Of course, we can see the option is looking at us. What it means is that if we redraw this in any way, we redraw this like this, we have incident ray, reflected ray. Now here is 55 degrees, this normal I, okay, this is reflected I, and here is 55 degrees. It means this angle now becomes 35 degrees, and that is alpha. That's what they're trying to say. That's it. With this, the examiner will know you actually know what you're doing. And the most appropriate option is this. Option A is the correct option to this question. Solved. But if you think otherwise, as I sign out, put it in the comment section. Let's discuss it further from there. I leave you now.